Good morning, everyone, and this is Brian coming from the Palace of Poor Decisions here at the wonderful Casa de Gibbons. Um, Welcome to another episode of Random Shit from a Gen Xer. And today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about my little project that I have that I've decided to go ahead and make. I'm going to make a documentary, and what I'm going to base it on is basically my life and other people's remembrances of honky tonks and everything like that back in not just honky tonks but dance halls back in the 80s, mid to late 80s, all the way up to about 2000. Because that's basically what I did. After a while, every Tuesday through Sunday, I was going out to bars and doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. But we'll go ahead and we'll get into that. And to show you it is morning still, yes, I do still have my coffee here. And yeah, needed some of that. So I got this over here. So, anyways, when I was a kid, mom and dad would go ahead and take me to the corner bars that were really family bars back up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's a lot different up there than what it is down here. Up there in the UP, you basically got a bar, every half mile. I remember as a kid plainly, mom and dad would go to this place on, oh gosh, I can't even remember the street name. But basically it was about, 6 blocks from our house, and it was called Tommy's Tap. And it was owned by some guy named Tommy, older guy. And it was there for a long, long, long time. And I remember going there with mom and dad quite often, to be honest. And we would go there. We would go to the Gem Bar. We would go to the Woodward, I think it was called the Woodward Avenue Bar. Woodward Avenue Bar and Gem Bar were basically across the street from each other. And then when we would go to Grandma and Grandpa's, a lot of times we would stop off at this place up there on the way, right before the turn to go to Felch. You'd take one highway, I think M95, and then you'd go ahead and turn right in Randville, and we'd go to the Randville Tavern a lot. And that was where I saw my first jackalope. And it, like I say, it was a completely different time and a completely different place. I don't know how it goes on now up there, but basically if you were a kid, mom and dad would take you to the bar, and the owners didn't mind it. As long as you were in there, you weren't causing any problems or anything like that. They'd go ahead and let you, stay. We drink Coke and have some chips, and I do miss Old Dutch chips. Those were really good. We don't have them down here. And when I went up to Milwaukee in the UP about 5 years ago, it was 2021 in November. I remember now. But anyway, going up there, I remember getting the Old Dutch chips and bringing them back to Texas in my luggage so that I had some, but ran out real quick, and I'm not paying the price on Amazon to go ahead and get those things because it's just ridiculous. But anyways, so my childhood was basically growing up in bars, thinking that that's what adults do, and it's, you go ahead, you take care of your business. Then in the evening or on the weekend to go ahead and go to the bar and hang out. And a lot of times I remember going to the bar with mom and dad, especially Tommy's Tap. And because it was so close to home, we'd hang out for a little while with mom and dad, my sister and I, and then we'd walk home. And, 5, 6 blocks now with kids probably like 12 and how old is my sister? She was 9. People don't do that anymore. And it's different nowadays. But that's where where a lot of my childhood was formed, was in places like that we'd go and hang out and things and do everything that with mom and dad. So when I got older, and in Texas at the time when I turned 19 back in '86, as an adult, I figured, hey, let's just go ahead and start going to the bars. Well, first time when I turned 19, I wanted to go to this club called Cabaret in Temple because that's where everybody went at the time. And that was '86, and I remember Dad saying, no, you can't go. So I didn't go, but on my birthday, he allowed me to go up to the beer and liquor stores up at Morgan's Point. We lived out there in Lake Belton in a place called Woodland Trails. And so my first buying beer moment was for my mom and dad. Yeah. Anyway, so when I was 19, it must have been February or March, finally, I started going out, and I went to Cabaret once or twice. And Cabaret was a honky tonk, basically. Not basically, it was. They majored around playing country music, and they'd go ahead and play, rock and roll for like 15 minutes an hour, and 30, the other 45 minutes was country. And I went there once or twice and by myself and really didn't have much fun. However, my friends, I was working at HEB, and I can't remember if we were on Central still or if we had moved up to Main Street yet, but I helped go ahead and open up that HEB that was on Main Street right across from First Baptist Church. And before that, I had worked at the one on Central Avenue. It was an itty bitty little store. And anyways, made some friends. That's where I found my lifelong friend, Richard, and also some people, some other people there. But Richard was the main guy. And we hung out almost from the beginning. And he's older than me. He's 11 years older than me. So me being 19, him being 31, he kind of got me out there. And it was kind of funny because when I started going, I barely had boots. Because remember, I'm from Upper Peninsula, Michigan, right before this. So it was really kind of funny and a little bit strange to be going out to country bars, even though I'd been listening to country music all my life because my mom and dad liked it. But it wasn't the kind of music that they were playing at the bars. Mom and dad didn't listen to Alabama, George Strait, or Ricky Skaggs or anything like that. They were listening to Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and things such as that. So anyways, went ahead and started going out, and I really, at first, I couldn't dance. I had this ugly belt. Oh my God, I look back on that belt and remember a picture that I had taken way back when, and but this belt, it was kind of, if you know anything about Western belts back in the day, it was this almost like twine belt in different colors, and it was gray and white. intertwined with each other. So it was really ugly. But I didn't know how to dance. I didn't have any clue what I was doing. I was really a young kid that was out of his league, to be completely honest, at the time. I had no idea about women. I was a total late bloomer. I never dated in high school. There's this one girl, supposedly one of my friends in DECA came up to me, and if you don't know what DECA is, it's Distributive Education Clubs of America. And if you had a job, you could go ahead and take that course, and it was actually fun. And I'll get into that later, because I ended up making it all the way to nationals in the year that I was in there for grocery stores. But that's another story. So, anyways, started going out to the club, started learning how to dance. I met this girl named Rose who liked me, and we would go out there dancing. And at first, I was NASCAR. All I could do was go around, make left turns. I couldn't spin, I couldn't go backwards, I couldn't do any of that. And she basically taught me how to dance. And by the time she got done with me, I could dance. And I could dance well. And doing all that, it basically got me more attention. People noticed me because, I'm 6'4", and I was kind of cute in my younger days, or at least I thought I was. But anyways, I started going out, and I was going from, say, Thursday through Saturday. Sometimes I'd throw a Sunday in there if I didn't have to work on Monday morning or anything like that. But I started going out a lot, and we would go there to Cody's in Harker Heights, or we would go to Mr. B's up in Waco, and sometimes Cabaret and Temple. And those are the places that we went. And I remember Cabaret closed down not too long after. It was probably 87 when Cabaret closed. And now, even the shopping center that was there with Cabaret, it's completely gone. So it's like everything else. It's gone and disappearing. And the reason I decided to make this documentary is because dance halls, honky tonks here in Texas are disappearing every day. We just had one long time club up in, I want to say like Saxe or something like that, all the way up there, almost to McKinney, that went ahead and closed down. And it's really kind of sad, because there's a whole generation, well, not just a generation, but there's a lot of people that just don't understand what that world was like and how much fun that it really was, or actually how much, not trouble, should have gotten into trouble, but that's beside the point, or how much that things like that changed your life. I'm sitting here right now and I'm looking at my at one of my doors, and I can see my 3 belts hanging up on the door. I've got a black belt, I've got a brown belt, and I've got another like tan belt that I have for going out, that I think that once in the last 10 years that I've actually gone ahead and put on. No, twice. I did go when Vince Gill went ahead and gave me tickets to go see a show over in Fort Worth at Billy Bob's. I wore everything then, but it's been a while, and to be honest, I kind of miss it. This winter, once my feet are a little bit more healed, and I'll talk about my feet one of these days as well, but I had some issues with them back in November and again in April, and everything's great, everything's fine, but oof, I had a problem, and I'm waiting before I put on boots and anything like that to go ahead and go out. But what I have in mind for this documentary is I already have the opening and I already have the closing. And now I just need to go ahead and get all the middle. I've gone ahead and storyboarded it out. I know exactly what we're going to do for right after the opening. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be very reflective, but also it's going to go ahead and tell the not so great points. When I was going out so much and I was dancing so much, met this young lady, and I had some friends that were getting married. I had friends that were in relationships, and we ended up going ahead and getting married. We met in September of 89, I want to say. The years are all fuzzy now, and it's just because I'm older, but let's say we met in September of 89, which probably sounds about right. And I felt like I needed to be part of this stuff because one of my friends was getting married. So I did love her. I did fall in love with her. Great person, really good, solid background. Her family took me in. They, unconditionally loved me. And basically, because of my addiction of going out, which by that time it was an addiction, I screwed everything up. I'm the first one to admit it. I did stuff that I shouldn't have done. I was too enamored by the lights and the dancing, the attention, everything like that, that one day I walked in 93 or 94, 93 it was, and said, I want a divorce. And looking back on it, it wasn't the greatest thing to do. It wasn't nice. It wasn't taking her feelings into consideration, but it was the right thing, to be honest, because I had done her wrong the whole marriage. I can't even remember her going out down in San Antonio to this place, and I was wearing my jeans with my tuck shirt and the vest and the tails and everything like that you do when you got married back in the 90s. And I remember when we're dancing around that I'm looking at all the cute girls looking at me. That was a bad sign. And I should have known. And I should have known better. And I shouldn't have done it to her. And if I could go back and do it all over again, of course I would. But, you can't do that. You can go ahead and look at what happened and just learn from it. And it took me a lot of years to go ahead and realize that I was just a complete idiot. And it just wasn't right. So, anyway, I was going out, and by that time, Mr. B's in Waco had gone out of business, and Cody's went ahead and started renting the building. And then I started getting worse, and I was going out Tuesday through Sunday. And I wouldn't just go to Cody's up in Waco. I'd go to little itty bitty places. I'd go to Kelly's. I'd go to this other hole in the wall place, because what I was doing is I was going ahead and I was going to these places, and I'd find a partner and win the dance contest. And as soon as I'd win the dance contest, or place or whatever, doing 2-step, 3-step, things such as at Waltz, I'd go ahead and I get the money. Then I'd go over to the next bar and go back to Cody's. Or sometimes they had dance contests different nights, and I'd go ahead and supplement my drinking income with my dance money. It was a vicious circle, but it wasn't all terrible. I did terrible things, but I had a lot of fun. And you have to be honest with yourself with things like this. Yeah, I can look back with it with some nostalgia, but also at the same time, I'm looking at it through a lens of, oh my God, I was crazy and I can't believe that I did some of the stuff that I did. And that's going to be in the documentary. Um, Regrets, of course, tons of regrets. But the one thing about regrets is, and I may go ahead and talk about regrets sometime, is that you can't go ahead and fix the past. What you have to do is learn from the past and try not to make the same choices that you did. And for a long time, I was in that vicious circle of, I've got to go out, I got to do this. If I miss something, a lot of it was fear of missing out, to be completely honest. I didn't want to go out and miss something, and it was kind of funny. The nights that we had when Richard and Don and I, and that was a funny thing right there, is I'd meet people, different girls, and I'd say, yeah, I'm here with Rich and Donna, or Donna Richard. And they would think, oh, Donna Richard. And they would think, oh, you're here with some girl. And it was hilarious and funny at the time. And it still is funny to this day. But started going out, like I said, Tuesday through Sunday. And I did that, oh my gosh, from about 94, 95, 94, mid 94, all the way up to about 2002, 2003. And I don't know what exactly happened to me to change me, but I stopped going out so much. I'd go out more occasionally. And I dated back then, and I had a couple of long-term girlfriends, and I just wasn't in the right mind to be having girlfriends. I shouldn't have had them. One, I was really, not psychotic, and I just wasn't a great person at the time. I ran into somebody not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and was talking to them, and one of the first things I said was, I'm sorry I was an idiot way back then. And they told me, no, I never thought that you were. So that makes me think a little bit different about everything. That I wasn't a complete idiot all the time, even though my actions were idiotic. But I had a lot of fun, and I met a lot of people, and I learned a lot of things. And now looking back at it, I don't think, proportionally that I was a terrible, terrible person. I just think that I was immature. And the doc is going to go ahead and get into that as well. But I found a group of people that used to go to Cody's in Harker Heights, and I'm going to start this week getting in touch with them. I was kind of bleh for about a week and a half. So I didn't feel good and didn't feel like talking to anybody. And it's why I didn't go ahead and post anything new on here. But now I'm feeling better. I'm going to go ahead and you're going to start seeing more from me again. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. And really the whole project, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. I've got to include my nephew into it, Chayton. because it's something that he doesn't understand and he doesn't know. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. He's going to be kind of the person behind the camera most of the time. And I even, like I said, I have the opening and I have the closing, and I have about 10 minutes in my head of what we're going to do. I just have to go ahead and get with my nephew, and I have to get with my friend Richard to find out when we have a time that we can all go ahead and meet. Me being here in Dallas, that means I'm going to have to go back down to Central Texas, down to the Temple Belton, Killeen area, and go ahead and do this. And once I get that in, it's really going to go ahead and start feeling like a project. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of reflecting in it, and a lot of stories, and it's gonna be fun. It's not just gonna be me and my thoughts, because y'all can see that I ramble, and then it'd be a 30-hour documentary, and we don't want that. Anyway, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. I've got a bartender that used to work there that I'm gonna talk to. Supposedly has a ton of pictures, and maybe there's some pictures of me back when. Right now I have like a picture of me when I'm 18 and another picture of me when I'm 26. So see if there's any of those missing years in there. I didn't like taking pictures, so I don't have a lot of them. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a good journey, and I'll go ahead and I'll update y'all on this when it's happening and everything such as that. It's going to be great. I'm going to love it. It's going to be a lot of fun, like I keep saying, and I just keep over explaining. But I've got it storyboarded out. I've got everything laid out of what I want to do, and eventually what I would like to do is just, maybe send it to some festivals. It's going to be raw. It's going to be cheap. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So we're going to go ahead and see what happens. Anyways, y'all have a great day. Leave comments if you like. Remember to subscribe, like, leave a comment. Have a great day. See you soon.